Welcome everyone, I'm Dale and this is Cinema Historia. A college professor, a striking portrait, and a jealous boyfriend. This week we're going back to 1944 for an American film noir called The Woman in the Window, starring Edward G. Robinson, Joan Bennett, Raymond Massey, and Dan Duryea. And this is directed by Fritz Lang. Our story begins this week with Richard Wanley, played by Edward G. Robinson, a psychology professor at Gotham College, New York. Richard sends his wife Dorothy and 2 children off on vacation while on his way to his club to meet friends. Next door to the gentleman's club, Wanley sees a striking oil painting of a beautiful woman in a storefront window. He and his friends, District Attorney Frank Lallard, played by Raymond Massey, and Dr. Michael Barkstain, talk about the beautiful painting and its subject. His friends leave the club early while Wanley decides to stay and relax with a good book, Song of Songs. Leaving at 10:30 p.m., Wanley stops at the portrait once more and meets Alice Reed, played by Joan Bennett, who is standing near the painting watching people gaze at it. A lonely Miss Reed, who confesses to posing for the painting, convinces Wanley to join her for drinks. Later, Reed asks Wanley if he would like to see more of the artist's work, and agreeing, they take an evening stroll to Reed's apartment. Not long after, an unexpected visitor arrives, Reed's rich lover, Claude Mazard, known to her only as Frank Howard. An argument leads to a fight in which Wanley kills Mazard in self-defense by means of stabbing him with a pair of scissors. Startled and confused, Wanley and Reed decide to not call the police, instead conspire to cover up the murder. Wrapping Mazard in a blanket, Reed stays behind while Wanley places the body in his car, drives over the Henry Hudson Parkway Bridge, and disposes the evidence in the wooded countryside. However, Wanley leaves many clues, as his friend District Attorney Frank Lallard discovers, being assigned to the case. Go figure. Meanwhile, as the police gather more evidence, Reed is paid a visit by Hyde, played by Dan Duryea, a blackmailer who had been hired to follow Mazard. Sounds like trouble. So, does more evidence lead a district attorney to Wanley's front door? Does a $5,000 payoff get rid of a blackmailer? Or does Wanley decide this all must be just a bad dream? Released November 3rd, 1944, the film is based on writer J.H. Wallace's 1942 best-selling book, Once Off Guard. Respected screenwriter Nunnally Johnson, having written the script for The Grapes of Wrath in 1940, was invited by International Pictures to a picture deal, and The Woman in the Window was chosen as its premiere project. With an 83% rating from the film critic Rotten Tomatoes, this film received 3 nominations, including a 1946 nominee Oscar for Best Musical Scoring of a Dramatic or Comedy Picture for Arthur Lang. And lastly, this film was included among AFI's 2001 list, nominated for the top 100 most heart-pounding American movies. That's a big statement. This movie went over quite well. In fact, Edward G. Robinson, Joan Bennett, and Dan Duryea did a second film noir the following year, 1945, called Scarlet Street, which I did on my channel. Please click the link below and enjoy another great film noir. And this film, The Woman in the Window, is posted in its entirety on YouTube, so enjoy. And our trivia question this week, let's see if you auto enthusiasts can nab this one. Did someone drive a rare automobile in our film? Did someone drive a rare automobile in our film? Maybe one with a body in it? So, a little more history and the answer to our trivia question coming up next. The painting of Alice Reed was done by artist Paul Louis Clemens, making this artist the subject of this week's history. So, Paul Clemens was an American painter who was born in Superior, Wisconsin on October 29, 1911. Clemens grew up in Milwaukee and graduated in art history from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 1932. He then studied fine art at the Art Institute of Chicago, where he met his first wife, Ruth, a sculptor and fellow student who modeled for many of his more famous works. Beginning in 1938, Paul Clemens was the only serious American artist devoting most of his creative energy to the world of sports. He concentrated his depictions upon baseball, football, auto, and horse racing. Called Speedway, a lithograph printed upon handmade laid paper, is both an important and striking example of early racing art. Clemens began painting for the Depression-era Works Progress Administration and won several awards for figure painting, which he taught at the Los Angeles Otis Art Institute in the early 1940s. Having settled in California, he began an association with Life magazine, painting numerous portraits of the film stars of the day to accompany profiles in the magazine. His sitters included Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy, Audrey Hepburn, William Holden, Henry Fonda, and Ava Gardner and Frank Sinatra. Clemens' fame grew, and in 1942, the Durand-Ruel Galleries mounted a solo show of his paintings, the first for an American artist since 1895. Through his work for Life magazine in 1954, he met his second wife, actress Eleanor Parker, producing a son, actor Paul Clemens, in 1958. Considered having the luminous qualities of the 19th century French painters, critics referred to Clemens as the American Renoir. And Clemens' work has been exhibited at the Carnegie International in Pittsburgh, the Metropolitan Museum in New York, and the National Academy of Design, where he was elected an Academy member in 1965. And his Head of Ruth is in the permanent collection of the Smithsonian. Isn't that amazing? And the answer to our trivia question this week: did someone drive a rare automobile in our film? I thought this one was pretty rare. Yes, Richard Wanley's car is a rare 1937 Cadillac Series 65 touring sedan. The Cadillac Series 65, after the Series 60, produced between 1937 and 1938, was slightly higher in status than the LaSalle, also produced by Cadillac. In 1937, it was only offered in one body style, a four-door, five-seat sedan built by Fisher. Under the hood was a 346 cubic inch or 5.7 liter monoblock V8, producing 135 horsepower. The car featured Bendix dual servo brakes, knee-action independent front suspension, and a Stromberg carburetor with an electric choke. MSRP new was about $2,190, and only 7,003 of this model were made. I thought that was pretty rare. Gotta love those big old white walls. I'd like to give a big thank you to my new subscribers this week. Thanks for jumping on board. And to everyone viewing, thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you soon.